Welcome to the Coop Tank. I'm your host, Steve Cooper, coming to you from SuiteRecording in beautiful Mount Laurel, New Jersey. And it's good to be back, Joe. I was in Italy. I missed the last 2 weeks, and I missed you. And I got to say something. I know you drink a lot of coffee. In Italy, every morning I would get espresso, decaf, because of the heart. I don't drink caffeine. But they were like $1.10. Now, what's your favorite coffee go to, and what does it cost you? What does American coffee cost to get out?
Well, Coop, welcome back to the States. It's good to have you. Coffee, I got to be honest, I love coffee in the morning. Can't do without it, but I'm really boring with it. I'll just take like a regular old coffee with light cream, light sugar. And like I like it homemade. I drink actually half and half decaf and half caffeinated. And I think it is it? I think it's like Pacific Rim or something. I'm not even sure what kind it is, but yeah, I'm pretty boring with my coffee tastes. But it costs me, I don't know, $1.50, $2 a cup probably. So it's a little higher than it is in Italy.
And I know you bring in the McDonald's stuff, and it's funny. And this is no lie. At the McCafe in Milan, we stopped in there just to check it out because it was 3 stories. They have croissants. They have all. I mean, in America, we can't even get the shake machine to work, and over there they have just insane stuff. So anyway, talking about work, tell us what makes this studio great and why we should want to work with you.
Absolutely. So at SuiteRecording here, we have a physical studio in Mount Laurel, conveniently located near a lot of different major highways and things like that. So it's a nice location, and we have a space here where you can come and record your content, whether it's video or audio for your business or brand. We specialize in podcasts, but it's a lot more than that too. We do mobile recordings. We do live streaming as well for your next event. And we really just love to help brands and businesses to kind of tap into the growing market that is video content for their business. So if you'd like to learn more, you can contact me anytime at hello@suiterecording.com or visit us on the web at suiterecording.com. That's SUITE. Take it away, Coop.
All right, we have a great show today. It's funny. I know I just met one of my guests, and the other one's been on, and I've known Audrey for a while. But my first guest from Core Title is Brian McGroarty. How you doing, Brian?
I'm doing very well. Thanks for having me today.
And then my buddy, who I like to toss back drinks with, but he can't right now because he's on 75 hard. It's from Insperity. It's Steve Mullen. How you doing, Steve?
Hey, Steve. Good to be with you again.
And finally, a veteran of Coffee with Cooper from On the Town Food Tours. It's Audrey Wiggins. How you doing, Audrey?
Hey, Steve.
All right. So, Brian, we'll start with you. What do you do? Tell me about Core Title and what you do for them.
Oh, sure. So my formal title is a VP of Business Development for Core Title. We do residential, commercial title insurance, Jersey, PA, Florida, and Michigan. We're the people behind the scenes when you're purchasing or refinancing any type of real property to make sure that the seller's problems or any problems in the past don't become your problems going forward.
Okay. How about you, Steve? Tell us what you do for Insperity and what Insperity is.
Sure. So my official title is I'm a business performance advisor for Insperity. Insperity is an HR company that works with small, mid-sized companies. And, every day I get to work with local business owners and help them look for ways to contain costs, limit their liabilities, and drive revenue for the company and help them take care of their best asset, which is their people.
All right. And Audrey, tell us about On the Town Food Tours.
Oh, yes. Thanks, Steve. I am the owner-operator of On the Town Food Tours. It is a walking food tour company where people have the opportunity to sample sweet and savory food along a walking route in 9 beautiful South Jersey towns. You get to sample food. You get to talk to the owners of the shops and restaurants. You also get to learn a little history about the town, do a little shopping. We always end up with something sweet. And if you're on a public tour, you get to meet new people.
All right. So, we all know each other from networking. And when you network, you find people and they all have a story, how they got to where they are. And we're going to start with you, Steve. How did you end up with Insperity? What has been your path, your career path? I know you're wearing your Father Judge jacket, but what is your career path to how you got to Insperity?
Yeah, and it's through networking, really. I mean, I spent probably 20 plus years in the advertising world, working for different magazines and publications throughout the region, and I was always out networking. And through a few different events, met a gentleman who works at Insperity, And when I was out looking for a new opportunity, reached out to him, and he connected me with Insperity, and that's how I got here. So at the end of the day, it goes back to creating and developing good relationships that, you never know when they're going to come back and help each other out.
How about you, Audrey? I don't even know your backstory. We've networked, but how did you end up? Because it's such a cool concept, but it's such a different concept. How did you end up running what you do now?
Yeah, Steve, it was really with my last corporate job. We had processed food manufacturers as our customers. I worked for a flavor and fragrance company as a marketer. And a part of what we did for them was to take these customers out on a walking food tour to help them understand what the flavor and food trends were, and so that they could apply it to their products. And so after doing it for a while, I realized, wow, there's people out here that actually do this for a living. This would be a really cool side gig and retirement job. Let's go ahead and give it a try. And I enjoyed it. At first, I started taking out friends and family. We would just follow the agenda from what the chefs put together for our customers, and everybody had a blast. So I thought, let's go ahead and move forward with this, but I'm not going to do it in a big city where most of these food tours take place. We're going to do it in small town New Jersey. We're going to take care of the mom and pop shops, bring business opportunities to them, get some foot traffic in the small suburban, small towns, the main streets that we're losing today. We don't really see these today, and we're going to celebrate them. And so we go to restaurants, 3 to 4 restaurants per tour, and we learn a little history, and we get a little immersion into our small towns.
All right, that's great. And the main streets are so important. I grew up in Cherry Hill. We didn't really have a main street. I mean, there wasn't. But, when I lived in Burbank, we had a main street, and it was great. And it is so important because it really adds to the community. Like, I live in Marlton, and, like, this Saturday, they have, like, the harvest something, down the Maple or whatever. So, Brian, how did you end up with Core Title? Because you haven't been there that long, like 10 years or something like that?
Well, yeah. So I'm actually one of the original 3 of Core Title. We were a sales team for another title company, but prior to even knowing about title insurance, I was in sales of all sorts. You could call me a former business consultant, if you will. And then as the recession hit and residuals were dwindling in different ways, I reached out to a good friend, talk about networking, and I said, hey, I think I need to start over again. I was a young guy, my probably mid to late 20s. And he said, do you ever think about title insurance? And I said, what the hell is title insurance? Well, 15 years later, here I am. And I'd say probably about 2 years after getting into the game, Core Title was formed. So I've been there since day one.
Okay. So you're all shakers and movers out there. And we're going to start with you, Audrey. When it comes to your job and your daily life, what motivates you? You always sit there, we can see these motivational speakers, and a lot of them just are over caffeinated, yelling bullshit. But when it comes down to it, what actually motivates you?
Well, as it relates to my business, it's to make it better, to grow it. I really would like to cultivate it and see how far I can take the business. I think getting up every day, having a schedule, having a plan on what I'm going to do for the day, that motivates me, trying to make my business better. Personally, I'm a health junkie. I love getting up and working out and starting my day in that respect. So I do look forward to my workouts. I look forward to eating right and sharing my information about, how I stay healthy with family and friends. I think those are really my motivators.
Okay. How about you, Brian? What motivates you in both personal and professional?
Well, there's a longer story to that, but I'll just give you a quick version. I try to go after 4 points a day, mentally, physically, spiritually, and socially. If I can accomplish goals in all 4 of those categories every day, I find that I have a really balanced life. I'm able to obviously try to keep in shape. My mind stays on top of itself, and then more importantly is that when you get to help others and then you get to achieve as well, I mean, everything kind of clicks and comes together.
Now, what are the 4 points again?
Mentally, physically, spiritually, and socially.
Okay, so mentally and spiritually, what's the difference?
So mentally is more like, how can I increase my vocabulary today? What can I learn differently? Maybe level myself up. Spiritually is more, whatever higher power that you might be atoning to. I am always trying to learn more. I want to be a student. And if I feel like just as any individual or any good business owner, you always have to constantly be learning, because if you're a shark and you stop swimming, then you sink.
Okay, that makes sense. How about you, Steve? What motivates you?
Money. Yeah, I think it's funny. As I mentioned earlier, I spent a lot of my career in advertising, spent some time in software sales, and it's always the thing that gives me the most gratification is going out and helping folks. Knowing I have something to provide them that's going to help them better their lives. And obviously in return, that betters mine as well. And, from a personal standpoint, obviously it's my family, my wife and kids. I got two boys that are in college, so it does come back to money because we're paying tuition. But really it's trying to be an example for them, and every day getting up and trying to figure out how can I do. That's why I'm doing the 75 hard, to try to get myself back into shape and better, as to Brian's point, not just physically, but mentally and spiritually, and kind of becoming a better whole version of who Steve Mullen is. So every day, that's kind of the motivation I get up with.
Okay, that's good. And if you don't know, people, Steve, when he cooks a different meal for all his kids and his wife. The guy's like the nicest guy. Like, he sits there. I tell my wife, I'm cooking this. And when I was growing up, my mom would say, you're eating this. He'll cook, I have this kind of chicken. I'll saute one, I'll fry one, it's amazing. So I think the food motivates you too, Steve.
Yes.
So Brian, you've been working on your own business, and then, we're always out there, we're on the hustle, we're trying to make things happen. What challenges do you face in your business every day that you wake up and you know there's going to be a challenge? Or over the last year, what's a big challenge you face, and how do you plan to overcome those challenges?
Oh, for sure. In my business, in the last, I'd say 5 to 7 years, we've had a lot of change. And that change could come from how leads were generated, how people had their process started, whether it was, talking to a friend or going online. And constantly adapting and getting ahead of that curve, getting in front of that information is always a challenge, because, where are people getting their information today is going to change in 2 or 3 years. I mean, geez, even look at where we get our news now. A whole generation that relied on the newspapers as well as, regular media. Now you have a whole nother generation aside from that is getting a lot of their information on the internet. So again, is how do you reach your audience? How do you get out the right message, a consistent message, and then obviously get the people at the top of that funnel?
Okay. How about you, Audrey? What challenges do you face? Because you interact with a lot of people. You're a people person for your job. So what challenges do you face?
Well, for my business, it's filling tours. My goal is to sell out every single tour that I have, and that's not always the case, but I strive to that every single weekend. So what that means is, for me, I have to, on the back end, make sure that I'm getting the messaging out. People know who I am, getting in front of the public wherever I can. So that includes street fairs, where there are street fairs that allow businesses to participate. So I try to make sure I participate in those. Get folks to sign up for my newsletter, build my database, do email marketing, social media advertising, SEO, which I just started doing this year, and I'm really starting to see an improvement in my website activity and an increase in sales. So I'm doing all the things, but I just need to see how much more can I do. AI is really I'm really starting to get into it a little bit more now, and I signed up for a service where I can get one-on-one training on how to use it for my business. So I'm excited about that next level. So it's always trying something new and different each time, see if it works. And if not, regroup and just do something else.
Okay. How about you, Steve? What are some challenges you face with Insperity? Because there's a lot of competition about what you do too.
Yeah, no doubt. It's a highly competitive market. So, for different aspects of what we do, from payroll to benefits, all of that. So it's getting out there and differentiating ourselves. Insperity is a $6.5 billion public company with 100 plus offices nationally. But, every event I go to, I talk to somebody who's never heard of us. But everybody knows who ADP is, right? So they've been around forever, and that they have that name recognition. So it's just really differentiating ourselves in that competitive marketplace, knowing that we are the best out there, no doubt. And the service that we provide and what we're going to bring to our clients is out there. So the challenge is really how to get that word out. So that's why I'm out at networking events all the time. I try to talk to, somebody on the phone or through email or a networking event every single day. And it doesn't stop on the weekends too. So if I'm out and I'm running into somebody, hey, who does your payroll? So it's always about that. And it's always top of mind. And because as you said, it is such a competitive market.
Okay. So we've all gotten to where we are, what we do, and we all have had influences. I've had influences where, a high school, my Dr. Dwyer, my high school English teacher, he encouraged me to write comedy when I wrote a paper that was funny. I had comics who have helped me out, Rich Scheider, Jeff Martyr, these guys who are national TV guys who have mentored me. So we all, and then we also have my mom. My mom was a very important person because she always told me to always ask, the worst you'll get is a no. So we all have people that are important and play an important role in who we are today. We're going to start with you, Steve. Who's someone in your life that you look back at and you really value the advice they gave you, and it played an important person, and it can be a family member, a former colleague, but someone who has really played an important role in developing you to who you are now today.
Yeah, it's interesting. A couple of people come to mind, but from a professional standpoint, somebody I met over 25 years ago because his wife was a client of mine. And I happened to meet him, a guy named Marty McLaughlin, who runs his own marketing company. He used to work at Arthur Andersen back in the day. Just got to know him, great guy. And every once in a while, we would just get together for coffee, sit down, and just whether we're talking about life, whether we're talking about work, whether we're talking about how to build sales and marketing, and just having one-to-one great conversations. Didn't always have to do with business, but it usually came around to that. And I'm still friends with him today. And he's probably one of the guys out of probably two or three that I would say has had the biggest impact on me. And he probably doesn't even know it.
Well, who's someone in your personal life who's had an impact on you?
Personally, I always look back to my parents. And it's funny, my father was a Philadelphia cop. Didn't say much, but he led by example. So every day he took a shift, he went out and he did his job and he provided for his family. So from a personal standpoint, as I mentioned earlier with my two sons, that's always stuck with me is my dad wasn't perfect and I by no means am either, but by, every day trying to live up to an example, hopefully that shines through.
You're not perfect, but Aaron Nola is. Inside joke, people, inside joke.
Wondering when that name was coming up.
I had to bring it up. Brian, personal and professional, people who've made an impact on you.
Oh, there's on the professional side, there's many to probably announce. What I can say is I'm blessed in general with a great network of people where that at any given time, you can call on these people and, like you said, get out there, have a cup of coffee with them, share some war stories. Hey, here's what's going on in business. Here's what's something I need to talk to you about. I was just actually with a friend yesterday. I haven't seen him in 3 years. Went over to Valley Forge, Pennsylvania, and we sat down and he was telling me about a whole situation that was going on with his business. But that half an hour that we had a chance to even connect after, doing some business and whatnot was more impactful than years worth of conversations that we probably have had or text messages over the phone in between that time. So I'm blessed for that network. And I would say on the personal side, always mom and dad. Dad was more of the life coach, when it came to the everyday things. He always had, I call them Bruceisms, things that he just instilled in me that are probably tattooed somewhere on me. And they've helped me through tough times, good times, everything. And then on the mom side, she was the spiritual side for sure. Aside from a lot of scriptures that she would always, convey to me as a growing adolescent, or even as a 42-year-old father. So I can say all of those people I'm absolutely blessed to have as a resource to go back to for information, advice, or even share some wisdom.
Okay, how about you, Audrey? Give me a personal and a professional.
Yeah, so for on the personal side, I would say my parents, in particular, my mom, who was very business minded, very smart, really good with math. As a matter of fact, when she was young, my grandfather had his own couple of businesses, and she was his accountant, believe it or not, as a child. I learned so much from her from a business aspect, from saving money financially. Like I am so much more financially savvy than any of my friends have ever been, and to this day I thank her for that. My dad, hard worker, he was a truck driver, and he would go out when there'd be snow, and this is when we were kids. You know how it used to snow when we were kids compared to today. I mean, snow would be on the ground. We're talking, inches, a foot, 2 feet, and he would still go to work. And I was, as a kid, I'm like, oh my God, am I going to see my dad tonight? Is he going to come back home? I'm so worried about him. But those are the two, the work ethics, and those two individuals really instilled in me from a very early age. And then professionally, I mean, it's all the women that I've met in my life, whether it's early on in my career, looking for a new career in marketing, from sales to marketing, people who've gone to graduate school. I mean, those are the people who have influenced my life in my work years, in my early career years, and have led me down a path to where I am today, even volunteering for NABO, the National Association of Women Business Owners. Being surrounded by these women inspire me every single day and makes me want to work harder.
It's funny. That's one thing. South Jersey does have a very strong, supportive women's networking community, and I think it's great because you have NABO, you have Kelly over at Just Your Sleep Mattress Boutique. She always does women's events, and it's really good because it has been a man's world. It was, and it still is at times, but it's good that you can all rally together. I mean, there's so many of them. Melissa Beach does one. Susie Protowski does one. There's so many. Joe Contonio. So that's really good. So okay, we're gonna be honest here. We're all going with social media, and everyone blows their own horn saying how great their job is and how they love their job. And, like I performed last night, and I love performing, but what sucks is I hate before I go on stage because you're like, oh, if they don't like me, it's just one of those mental things. That's one thing, I don't like my job. One thing I do like about my job is making people laugh and networking. So what is something, and we'll start with you, Steve, what is something that you really like about your job? I mean, what is it that you sit there and go, I really like going to work? Because there's people who shovel shit. And if you like shoveling shit, that's fine. Hey, more power to you. But what do you really like about your job?
Well, I think the first thing I would say is, particularly at this stage of my career, I've been just celebrated 2 years here at Insperity. And so to finally be at a company where, and I've had some good companies over the years, but to be at a company where, as I said earlier, $6.5 billion company with the resources to really support us as a team to go out and do what we need to do. That's one thing that I really like. And just, the people that I meet, whether the ones that I work with or the ones I get to go out and meet, from prospects to networking and all that, you just get to meet and hear great stories from people. And that's what I love. I was an accounting major for about 2 years in college. And I thank God that I changed to marketing and got into kind of the sales and marketing world, because if I had to sit behind a desk and not talk to people all day long, I'd go crazy. And so, I mean, that's what kind of drives me. I love that I get to do every single day.
How about you, Audrey? What do you like? But what do you really like about your job? Because you can tell you like it because you're giving up all your weekends to do these tours, so you have to like your job. But what do you really like about your job?
Meeting people. I mean, obviously, when folks come on my walking food tours, most of them I don't know. I'm meeting them for the first time. Everybody is always in a good mood. I never feel bad about going to a tour thinking that I'm just not going to have a great time. I have a great time all the time. And I get to show people around town. I get to share information with them. I get them to eat delicious food and talk to the owners. Like, I am leading these guys and helping them get immersed in this experience. that they are having over a 3 hour period. That is fun for me. And then when I have return customers, and about 30% of my customers are return based, I love seeing them because I call them my friends. We're just hanging out together for 3 hours and having a good time. That's really it. That's what drives me. That's what I love about going on a tour every weekend.
Okay. How about you, Brian? What do you like about your job?
Well, I'm going to jump on the train here. Is that, as salespeople, we love to meet new people all the time. I mean, God made us all individuals different. I mean, all shapes and sizes and all personalities. But in the same sense, too, is when you get to meet other salespeople and you are a salesperson, you see the good in a lot of people, right? And nothing's more rewarding is that when you can help somebody out that maybe they needed a contact, they needed that something to help out their business. You're able to provide that to them. And then, man, there it goes. And they have this new opportunity. Maybe a new business comes in, a whole nother line of income. Things of that nature are highly rewarding where you can actually make an impact in somebody's life.
Okay, we're going to stay with you on this, Brian. You told us what you like about your job. What don't you like about your job? Because everyone can sit there and they can say, oh, I have the best job in the world. And if they're saying every day is great, you're full of shit. Because they're all something we don't like. It may be someone who you work for, or maybe something as little as, they have crappy pens where you work. It's just something, I'm using a good pen. But Brian, what don't you like about your job?
Oh, man, that's on the spot. I'll say this, is that for the most part, there's a lot of things I love about title. It makes an even playing field. I can't necessarily reduce rates. I can't, cut costs in that nature. When people think of insurance, they think of like Geico. I'm going to save you 15%, when you give us a call. It's not like that with title insurance. Everybody's got the same price. But what I would love to do is I'd love to really open up the gates on innovation, and I would hope that the industry as a whole would come into the whole new world of technology. We were just talking a few minutes ago about AI. Even during the pandemic, a lot of the things that were antiquated that are holding us back in title and real estate are just held back by regulation or just old ways of doing business. I'd really love to speed up that process and see who's really innovating and who's just kind of pretending.
Okay. Steve, what don't you like about your job?
The stress. When I started working in sales, I was dark hair, didn't have any gray. I think that's, every day it's like, all right, it's the Janet Jackson principle. What have you done for me lately? It's, it's every day you're faced with new goals and stresses and all that. And to flip that around, that's also a positive too, because it's also what drives me. But, besides the stress and all that, I think it is the frustration of getting out there, knowing you have the best product that's out there for this space, and the challenge of getting people to understand that.
Okay, how about you, Audrey? What don't you like about your job?
Well, I'm not an accountant or a bookkeeper, but I do that. I learned how to do it. I don't like doing it. I will have receipts stacked up for like 2 months. And it'll be like, oh, that doesn't have a due date. But you know what? It really does. Because then when you're ready to pay your bills or you get charged for things and you're like, oh, my website doesn't work. Why? You haven't paid attention to your bookkeeping. You haven't paid this bill in like 2 months. So, I mean, it can have some serious ramifications. But that is the one thing I don't like to do is that paperwork, specifically the bookkeeping stuff.
Okay. So in this day and age, people like to tell you how great they are. And that's just the truth. You see it all the time on social media. People will tell you they're an expert. They're this expert. I saw someone one time said they're an international podcaster. Yeah, well, it's on the internet. Everyone's international. It's around the world. So I see that and I laugh when people say, oh, yeah, I'm this whatever expert. Yeah, people do that and people, that's fine. That's what they do. You can't bitch at them. But, sometimes it gets overwhelming when people just constantly hit you in the face like how great they are or how they got a speaking job that's 8 months from now that you're never going to go to and you really don't give a shit about. But that's all right. So now, but we all look at ourselves and we all like things about ourselves. Like someone told me I was very credible a while ago. That's a characteristic I like. I said, "Oh wow." They said, they go, "We know you're not full of it. You say you do comedy. We've seen you on stage. You do this." So, what's a characteristic? We'll start with you, Audrey. What's a characteristic about you that you like and you're very proud that you have that characteristic? It can be, like I said, credibility, it can be honesty, but what is something, think about this and say, tell us something that you're saying, I really like this about myself, and I'm gladly going to admit it because I'm not full of crap about it.
Wow. Well, you know what? I like that I'm an introvert, believe it or not. That's probably not something that people would say. Um, I've seen extroverts. I like that I'm an introvert. Um, I think that as an introvert, you do work really hard, and sometimes you're in situations that cause anxiety, but you work through that. If somebody was to look at me and talk to me, you would never think that I was an introvert because I really work hard at making you believe that I'm not. And when I can get through those situations or circumstances out on the other end looking pretty good, I've accomplished something. Um, that makes me feel good about myself. And so that would be the thing. I mean, I know it's weird, but that would be the thing. I really work hard to get better at this particular thing. And I think I've done a good job at it, especially
Yeah,
when, I, go ahead, Steve.
no, there's nothing wrong with me. I'm introverted, and people don't believe it. But like, if I go to an event, I don't want to be the center of attention. I go and I'll
Yes.
sit by myself, and if people come up to me, they talk to me, it's fine. I don't need to go out and mingle, and I think that's a good thing because with the people that are always, hey, you're like, oh, here comes that person, But if you're sitting to see someone sitting there, and I think when you're an introvert, if you sit there, people tend to gravitate towards you because they sit there and they go, you know what, if you're a caring person, you go, oh man, that person's sitting by themselves. Let's go talk to them.
Hmm. Yeah, you have empathy. I mean, you have empathy. Um, you don't want to see someone sitting by themselves. You want to go over and talk to them. You want to make sure that they're having a good time or they're happy. So yeah, all of those things. I really like the characteristic of personality and characteristics of being an introvert. I agree, Steve. You're a
How about
great
you?
introvert.
How about you, Brian? What's the characteristic you like about yourself?
Uh, I think I'd like to say that I like to ride into the storm. I'm not sure if you guys have ever heard that analogy about buffalo, that when a long storm is coming over the plains, that they will actually, as a herd, go into the storm knowing that if they all walk into it immediately versus running away from it, they will get past it quicker. And so when there's problems that come along with whatever comes into my life, I'm one of those people that I will attack it first. I will walk right into that storm, and I'd rather come to the solution quicker. Something my father even instilled to me, even as a young child: don't give me a problem, give me a solution. So when things come my way and there's adversity, I'd rather talk it out. I'd rather get to the bottom of it. I'd rather fix it and ideally prevent it from ever happening again.
So you ride into the storm, and REO Speedwagon rides out with the storm. That's a song by them when they rocked. Steve, something you like about yourself?
The first word that came to my mind when you brought the topic up was genuine, and I always go back to, I had a boss when I was early in my career who called me thoughtful, and at the time didn't kind of really know what that kind of really meant. And through the years, it's, to me, what it means is, I do care. I am genuine. And when there's too many salespeople out there, like you said, the guy at the networking event that's all, hey, look at me. That's not generally me unless I have a few cocktails. But, it's about understanding and talking to people. And that's why when I got into advertising early in my career and I was talking to small business owners about their business, like that resonated with me. Like, how can I help you? And it does sound cliche and cheesy as the sales guy to say that, but it's really how I've kind of built my career and gone through my life with. It's that thoughtfulness of listening to somebody and understanding what they're saying, and to Brian's point, coming with a solution, not just, yeah, I hear you. Okay, on to the next one. Where's my next check coming from? It's really genuinely caring.
And if you're thoughtful, you can buy me a Oktoberfest beer at Splits. Okay. So, you said what you like about yourself. Okay. Now, what is something, and we'll start with you, Steve. What is something you can get better at? Like me, I procrastinated my whole life. And I always say to me, I'm going to do it. And against my procrastinator, I don't do it. And I have so many projects in my head that I should have finished, but I don't because I procrastinate. So that's something I have to get better at. Steve, what's something you have to get better at?
Yeah, I think it's probably along those lines too, and it's being more disciplined and every day getting up and doing the same thing. It's again why I'm doing the 75 hard. I'm doing it with almost 15 other people, so it's that accountability group for me keeps me on track. So I think if I had to say something, it would be to be more disciplined in keeping a routine day in, day out. And when these 75 days are up, it's not just, okay, now I can go eat and drink everything I want. It's, what did I learn during this process and staying with it? So I think that's where I would always look to improve myself, is having that self-discipline to stay with things and be more proactive with a routine.
How about you, Brian? What's something you can get better at?
I would say intake on whatever I'm putting into my body. It's the life of a salesman's hard. A lot of times, our appointments are based off of food and drink, coffee, and things of that nature. And we forget that there's so many things that we got to be careful of, and we have to have a good meal. And so while you're constantly working all those different hours and burning both ends of the candle, I would say I need to get better on intake. So food, diet, and obviously, whatever goes into the mind. So definitely that's something I would like to be working on this next month coming up.
How about you, Audrey? What's something you have to get better at?
For me, it would be personal relationships. I want to improve my personal relationships. So maybe not working as much, focusing as much on work, but to actually think about the person that I want to spend more time with, and how can I make that person's time with me better. Perfect example. I have a cousin who's coming to stay with me in October for 2 weeks. She's coming from England. She took 2 years out of her life to take care of our uncle who has Parkinson's. I want to show her how much I appreciate what she did for our uncle. And so she's coming to stay with me, and I'm going to take her all over. We actually have 4 days in Cancun. I'm taking her to Cancun during her time here, and we're going to spend the rest of the 2 weeks, and I'm just going to be a great cousin to her.
That's awesome. That's very cool. That's cool. So, okay, this is a two-parter, because they're not the same, and some people will say the same, but I don't think they are. Success, happiness. They're different. There's people who are successful and they're not happy. And there's all different things. Like I always say, happiness for me is, I'll be honest, if I'm in the other room and my wife's not talking to me, I'm joking. If I'm in the other room and my wife, I hear her laughing at a TV show, that's happiness to me. Like that means, we have a happy home. We have a joyful home. And so, and success is, waking up for me, because I've had health issues in the past. I get up and I'm not worried about, things like I used to have to worry about. But to you, Brian, we'll start with you. What is success and what is happiness? Now, if you think they're both the same, say that. That's fine. But if you don't, tell me what you think a success is to you. To you, success and happiness at this point in your life, not when you're 18 or 20, because it changes. But what is success and happiness to you?
That's the truth. I mean, my college application for Seton Hall, I defined success as to not worry. And there's a part of that still, holds true. And what I meant by that is, are the bills paid on time? Is the mortgage okay? Do I have a good relationship, personally, professionally, whomever? But I would say the success part comes now as a dad, as a father, is my legacy is, have I done everything that I needed to do in order to give my son something else that he can build on for his family? And then the happiness part on the two-parter really comes to this, is that every single day, I heard, I think it was Jordan Peterson that said this, one of my favorite authors, and he talked about marriage in general. And we think about, did you get the Valentine's Day right? Did you get the holidays right, or whatever? And he said, that's not marriage. The every single day, the breakfast, the mornings that you wake up, the interactions that you have when you're coming home from work, all of those things, if you get those right, you're winning 200% more than you are on those special holidays, the anniversaries and whatever else that might come along. So for me, it's winning the small things, winning the small little battles, that, the singles, maybe the doubles, not always the home runs.
Okay. How about you, Audrey? Success, happiness.
Success is, for me, you're at a point in your life where you're just content, and really, I mean, maybe more than content. You're excited about where you are in life. What are your best years? Someone asked me this question the other day. Well, I thought the 40s, the 50s, and the 60s these are my best years. When I look back and I look at today, where I am today, that makes me happy. What success is having my own autonomy. That is, I can do whatever I want in a day, in a week, in a month, when I want. I don't have anyone looking over my shoulder. I am my own boss. That is success to me. And I've done a lot over my years through corporate America, going to school. I did all those things, the things that I thought I was supposed to do. And now I'm an entrepreneur. Nobody, actually, my mom actually tried to talk me out of being an entrepreneur. She actually tried to talk me out of leaving my 14-year job with Marriott in sales. And I pushed back and I went on and changed my career from sales to marketing. And I worked for Campbell Soup for 4 years, and then a flavor and fragrance company as a marketer for 13 years. When I think back on those things and I pushed back and did the things that I wanted to do, here I am, an entrepreneur, and I am very happy, and I think I'm very successful.
All right. How about you, Steve? Success, happiness.
Yeah, I definitely think they're two different things, but they're so connected. I think, for success for me is, as you said, getting up every morning. That's a good start. But it's having, at the end of the day, a level of fulfillment that I'm where I need to be. I'm doing what I want to do. I'm making a difference. Happiness, I think, kind of comes along with a lot of that. But it's that balance between that work-life balance. It is one of the things that I love about Insperity is, they preach that culture, internally and externally. And it's about, your family is important. If you're taking care of your family, you're going to be more productive at work. And so I think they go hand in hand. And if I, at the end of the day, can lay my head on the pillow and say, I have that balance, there's a level of happiness that comes along with that.
Okay. So we all are out there meeting people. It's something that we do. Networking is, people aren't cold calling anymore. They're doing networking a lot of times. We all like to refer people. Now, when you refer someone and they don't do a good job, it comes back to you. And that's happened to me recently. And then people are like, Cooper, what, I'm like, I didn't know, that happens. So we're all in the business of referring, and that's what we meet people. If you need someone for this, you refer. So, Steve, what characteristics does someone have to have for you to personally endorse them and refer them?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's different levels of that, right? So, hey, do you know a plumber? And I might say, yeah, I use this guy once or twice and whatever. But really, from a referral that I'm going to stand by, one, hopefully I've had some professional and personal dealings with the person, so I do know what they are. So if I feel that they're a genuine, honest person with integrity, obviously you feel better about it. So I think it's got to be a level of knowledge of who that person is, not just what they do, but who's that person. Because you're right, it's not necessarily the company that you're referring, it's that person. And then if it doesn't work, it comes back to you, right? So I'm putting my reputation on the line every time I pass along somebody's name or contact information, and I'm telling somebody, yeah, I think this person will do a good job for you. So I've got to feel comfortable with that. They're honest and have integrity and will do what they said they do.
How about you, Audrey? What characteristics does someone have to have for you to refer them?
Well, yeah, integrity, honesty. You say you're going to do what you're going to do. When you said it, you follow through, you do a good job, you leave the customer feeling happy about the work that you did or the service that you provided. Um, all of those things are really important to me. And, if I'm going to refer someone, they've got to fulfill all those things. But I also would like to have a personal relationship with you as well, like at least get to know you more than just what your name and title is and that you own this company or that you work for a particular company. So I would like to have some type of, maybe a relationship. Maybe we went out for coffee or something like that. Maybe we talk on the phone and do one-to-ones every so often. Like I like to know who you are, who's the person behind the service. But yes, all of those things.
Okay. How about you, Brian?
As we were going through this, I wrote down three things here. And there's a process that I go about by referring people because I've been burnt as well. The first thing is how they present themselves. Can this person explain exactly what they do and how they do it? Because I feel like if you can't explain what you do in 30 seconds, then there's a good chance you might not be able to do it with a random person. Mutual contacts, birds of a feather flock together. There's a lot of people that we've all talked about just in the past few minutes about honesty, integrity, some type of relationship that we've had. So I'd like to make sure that that person, if they know similar people, like, and that person I'm comfortable with, then yeah, there's a good chance I probably would like them as well if it's a brand new relationship. And the last part is people buy from people that they like. If I don't really like you, then I might not want to refer you as well. So I think there's those three characteristics I need to have just immediately to refer. But even before I make any introduction, I'm teeing that up. So, Coop, if I'm going to refer you, I'm immediately going to give you a phone call first and say, hey, is this a good opportunity for you? Here's the problem that this person has. Is that something that you can fix? And I'm going to give you an opportunity to say no. Or you're saying, you know what? That's not really my thing, but I know somebody who can. And then before you know it, maybe you avoid those issues and problems. I know, again, I've been burnt in the same way.
Okay, so this the question I usually ask now is about networking. What do you like about networking? But it's become quite obvious through all our conversation that what a lot of you like about networking is meeting people, hearing a story, hearing, just getting at one-on-one, like Audrey, you said, one-on-one, it's getting that connection. You're an introvert, but you like when you talk to people, that you like meeting people, and that's the thing. So I'm going to say, what don't you like about networking? Because I met someone who said, oh, everything in networking is good. I'll tell you, when I was away in Italy, it was great not networking. 2 weeks not networking was great. I was like, yeah, you know what? I'll do cocktails with Cooper, but that's it. Maybe I won't go to many events because you get burned on it. A lot of times it's the same people. There's nothing worse when you go to an event and it's constantly the same people. And then it really goes from networking to socializing, which there's nothing wrong with. But like with cocktails with Cooper, what I love is I always get new people. I get people who show up I don't even know. And I'm like, all right, I like that. What I don't like is if it was always the same people. If there was people I didn't like, they kept showing up. Now, the people I like show up, I'm fine with that. But so we'll start with you, Brian. What do you not like about networking?
Geez, when I first got into networking, we had huge networking events, 200 plus people. I mean, I was literally, going like this and networking to the people right next to me. And you would meet a lot of great people. But we got away from networking, from the giver's game that we probably have all heard many times. But we've gotten to that people are going out and hunting first and looking out for themselves. And so I would hope that we can now create maybe a new generation of networkers that are looking to give, not necessarily the person that is looking to hunt down a prospect or to sell you. I'm not going to demagogue any companies, but they're going to sell you whatever product they're trying to sell versus trying to help you out or maybe find you a contract that might be able to assist you. So if I see somebody in the same room as Audrey and I say, hey, you know what? There's somebody you need to meet. I'd rather walk them over right directly to her and then create an opportunity versus having one of those situations, where somebody's just looking out for themselves. I hope that makes sense.
Well, it's funny. I think, when you say about the new generation and networking, I think that the pandemic really helped them for the fact that we did do Zoom calls and we did one-on-ones, and it wasn't the person walking in with the nicest suit or whatever. They actually got to know people. And I think that really developed because, a lot of these there was like these two young guys who were showing up at events. They were like 18 and 19. They were like selling some kind of sunglasses. I was fascinated. I was like, oh my God, that's great. Like they're out because it can be scary ground sometimes. There's a lot of pricks out there in the network who don't. No one wanted to talk to me when I first came back. Then they found out I know all these celebrities. They're like, hey, Coop. I'm like, no, you were a prick when I met you. But people like Steve was always nice and Audrey was always nice. I met Steve at Kevin DeDuke's party where I was in a dunking tank, even though we knew each other from LinkedIn. And we said, oh, we know each other. And that was the thing. And I think that's something. I think the younger people now are doing that. They're really good at it, even though, and I think it was a pandemic. But anyway, Audrey, what do you not like about networking? Well, you're an introvert, so that might be something, but what don't you like about networking?
Well, going back to that, a little bit of, I have to go network. That anxiety, like, I don't know what to expect. Oh no, am I going to get to talk to people? Are they going to let me into their little circle? Is it going can I get in and talk? Are they going to be interested? Like all those things go through my mind. But when I get there, it is a different story because yes, there are people there that I know and I'm continuing to build a relationship. And then of course, you can't just meet a person one time and think that you're going to sit down and do business. You gotta go and touch and speak many, many times before they're comfortable enough with you to do business, or maybe even just go out for coffee or become a friend down the line. And then there's the people that, and you're having fun, a good time, and you're really just catching up, are you still networking? You might be socializing at that point, but it's still a lot of fun. And the part that really blows my mind is like, I'm usually the one that is one of the last people leaving a networking event. I'm closing it down, or maybe I'm just one of a few that's still there. So it's crazy from, oh my God, anxiety about going to, you're closing the doors, you're closing it down the place, So anyway, that would be mine.
All right. Steve, how about you? What's something you don't like about networking?
Yeah, for me, it's the people that are there, right? So what you just described of, you got the guys that are in there that are just there to collect business cards and they're there to take, not give, right? So, networking is about building relationships. And as Audrey just said, it's not that one conversation and now all of a sudden you're best of friends and going to do business. It's about building a relationship. So for me, it's like if I'm going to nobody shows up at Cocktails with Coop with this mindset, but when you go to an event and you just know that there's going to be people there that are just running around trying to collect business cards, that are trying to sell you on something, and I'm like, I'm not buying anything you have to sell anyway, so you're wasting your time and you're in my way. So I think it's just those people, and it's just like for somebody who's been in sales and marketing for 30 plus years, I have a disdain for people. So it's like, be genuine, be nice, be here to build a relationship and give, not just take. So long-winded answer, but that's kind of where I feel.
It's funny. An example of that is at the last Cocktails with Cooper. When anyone comes in, I don't know them, I try to introduce myself. I don't say, hey, I'm Cooper, but I want them to welcome. So I want to welcome people. And this guy sort of blows me off. I'm like, all right, whatever. That's cool. And then like 20 minutes later, he comes and goes, I didn't know you were Cooper. And I said, yeah. And he said, he started talking to me and he gave me his business card. And he goes, can I get your card? I said, yeah, but don't try to sell me anything. He goes, okay. And what's he do? He tries to sell me right there. And I'm like, dude, like, come on, get out of here. That's something I hate when people are, they're very insincere and they're just not good. So here's a question. It's going to be about LinkedIn, because I'm a firm believer that there's LinkedIn and there's Facebook. And for many times, I would not become friends on Facebook with people I would LinkedIn because, as you know, I put a lot of jokes. I put sometimes off-color stuff. I put stupid stuff. That's my Facebook. I think LinkedIn should be more professional. And this is the only time I'll talk about politics and religion. And it's funny because I have friends who are extreme right, and I have friends who are extreme left. That happens in the entertainment world. I have a friend, Nick Searcy, who is like the most right-wing actor ever. But when he was on my other show, Cooper Talk, he just talked about his acting career, not that. And I have hardcore lefts. So when it comes to LinkedIn, and we'll start with you, Steve, because I know you get political on Facebook, and that's fine. You know, I'm not going to take it. But when it comes to you, on LinkedIn, do you think there's a place for politics and religion on LinkedIn, not Facebook, because Facebook is our social media? What's your take on that? Because as I said, you know, you get political on Facebook, and there's nothing wrong with that. But what's your thought about LinkedIn?
Yeah, my take, and I was like you, Coop, where I like the two worlds never clashed back in the day. But then I had a job where people I was selling to were all on Facebook, so I had to kind of let those two worlds come together. But I agree. I think LinkedIn is that professional social media site that should be for professional stuff. I don't think it has a place there. I cut back for a couple of years on what I was doing politically, even on Facebook, because of that intertwining of worlds. But every once in a while I slip and I'll throw some stuff out there. But yeah, I think LinkedIn is getting dumped on with too much of that stuff right now, and it's becoming almost like Facebook.
Good. How about you, Audrey?
Definitely, you got to be careful on social media in general, I think. But especially when you're on LinkedIn, which is considered a professional network, I don't know, site, professional networking site, or I just think that you got to be neutral. I think that you could rub people the wrong way based on even just liking something, and you don't want to. You know, I am just gonna play it neutral, even keel all the way around. I'm not gonna go one way or the other. I just stay away from it. Even if it's in the middle, I don't even touch anything that's political at all. I don't want anyone to judge me or, put a comment in because I like something. I just prefer to keep it neutral on LinkedIn.
Okay. How about you, Brian?
I mean, first and foremost, I mean, we all have our First Amendment rights. We could say as whatever we want to, pretty much, and obviously that's a very general statement. But what I want to get at there is that you're more than welcome to say whatever you want on any platform. And I found that over time, things have changed and evolved. You know, we were just saying a few seconds ago that Facebook, a lot of times political, religious things, that was never put on there because that was like your representative, right? And then, when LinkedIn was always just like a glorified resume until it became more of a posting and using that original algorithm that was popular way back when. But I also think that past that part, that whatever you're going to post, there's always going to be somebody that's going to rile up. But when you talk about political things just in general, I mean, the last few elections that we've seen, you're seeing it's almost 50-50 each and every time. So if you're going to say something that you may or may not believe in, or even like on something that we were just talking about, Audrey, that you had mentioned, you got to understand that you might potentially upset the other 50% of the people that you talk to on a regular basis. So the way I look at it is, if you're in the kitchen, you're going to be taking that heat no matter what. What I would say is this, is that I am a firm believer that for LinkedIn, I post just business things. And I post this thing because that's the representative of about core title, what I'm about, and what I want people to see on that side. For Facebook alone, that's something more that's more personal. That's where I'm showing family things, etc. But I still try to stay away from the political side because not everybody's able to have that conversation, or as we always say, a good argument, and just know that even after that, I still want to be your friend. So rather than get into that thing, maybe I'll have a personal conversation rather than let any keyboard warrior try to jump in.
I'm just wondering on for LinkedIn if I should put the picture of me in a Speedo wearing a fedora. I don't know if that's a good profile picture. I don't know. I don't know. I think people might get disgusted. Okay,
Well, I
so
think with your celebrity contacts, I mean, you're going to get a lot of likes anyway. So
yeah,
I
but
mean,
I don't look good in a Speedo. I don't have a Speedo. Let's get that. People, just so I don't have a Speedo. Okay, I joke about it. I do not own a Speedo. I posted on Facebook yesterday that it was 80 degrees out. I'm going to wear Daisy Dukes. I do not own Daisy Dukes. And no, Steve Mullen, I wouldn't put them on my head. Okay, so here's the final question. You guys have been great. This has been really fun, and it's good to be back behind the mic because I haven't been for 2 weeks. I've missed the last 2 weeks. You're at a certain point in your life, where we run into people. It could be kids, it could be someone, it could be a college graduate, it could be someone from trade school. People are going to come to you and ask you about advice, whether about in the business world. They're going to ask you, so I want you to put yourself in the role as a mentor. And what advice would you give to someone who is just out of school, who is starting a new career? Because you've all had different careers and different jobs. Brian, we'll start with you. If you were serving the role as a mentor, what advice would you give to someone who came to you for your knowledge?
oh, for sure. Just in general, the first thing they need to do is get away from their phone, get away from their computer, go meet as many people as humanly possible. Learn to socialize, learn to interact, learn from the best. If you want to be a great salesperson, go be, some type of shadow from them. Listen to what they do, how they do it, how they interact with people, how they solve problems. Because a lot of times right now, I think what our generation that's coming up needs more than anything is the ability to interact with humans better. I mean, I came from a time where, we didn't say coming out of college that you would all of a sudden make $100,000 a year. You had to work your way up the corporate ladder. I'm sure all of us remember hearing that. So as a mentor to them, I would say start small, talk with your people, talk with your community, keep in touch with people. And then over time, you'd be amazed about what kind of relationships come about. And Coop, you even mentioned this before, what you believe earlier on in your life is a totally different success story later on in your life. So as those people are evolving, you're going to see that your circle starts to shrink down with the people that you really, really like to link up with. So that's my thing. Is talk to everybody, talk to tons of people each and every day, and stay close to the people that have the same values that you do.
How about you, Steve?
Yeah, I would say, do a lot of things. Find out, what you really want to do. Because, most, you're coming out of college, you're, out of high school and through trades, whatever, you're 19, 20, 22 years old, whatever it might be. You don't have an idea what you really want to do. So get out there and try to do different things, and at the end of the day, it comes back to our conversation earlier about happiness and success. And at the end of the day, being fulfilled, right? So do that and never, ever, ever stop being inquisitive. Always have a thirst to learn and to keep, bettering yourself, whether that's through official training or what Brian just said, talking to as many people as you possibly can, shadowing. Who's the best person in your office? Go shadow them for a couple days. Buy them lunch if you need to, but pick their brains, do what you need to do. Never, ever, ever stop being inquisitive.
How about you, Audrey?
I would say stop worrying about the future. Don't worry about it. I mean, as we all sit here today and we think about how worried and concerned we were as young people about, am I going to get married? Who am I going to get married? What's my career going to look like? How much money am I going to make? Am I going to be able to buy a house? Blah, 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 blah. Stop worrying about it because it's all going to be fine. It's all going to be fine. You're going to live life, but it's all going to be fine. I would just say, have your goals, set your goals, move forward to meet your goals, and then set more goals for yourself, but just stop worrying. And the second thing I would say is surround yourself by the people that you want to be like. Good people who are successful, people who work really hard, people who are happy. Surround yourself with good people.
Well, this has been awesome. It's so good to hear all your viewpoints and everything. Brian, how can people get in touch with you?
Oh, sure. Very simple. Our website, coretitle.com. Please feel free. All my contact information is there, but I'll even throw the cell phone out there. always the best way to reach me, 856-366-8097. And of course, if you want to hit me by email, it's my first initial last name, BMCGROARTY@coretitle.com.
You know, I think when I'm going to people ask me for my phone number now, I'm going to give them the JG Wentworth. That's my new thing. Steve, how can people get in touch with you?
Go to Cocktails with Cooper every month. I'll be there. Other than that, email is steve.mullen, MULLEN, @insperity.com. Cell phone is 609-670-7416, or on the web, insperity.com. And as we've mentioned, I'm all over social media as well.
And you lied. You weren't there last month, but that's okay. You had another event.
First one.
Audrey, how about you? How can people get in touch with you?
Well, I'll be on the Coop Tank and Cocktails with Cooper. And also, folks can get a hold of me at onthetownfoodtours.com. They can email me at info@onthetownfoodtours.com. My phone number, 609-721-5164.
People, and you can get in touch with me. I'm not giving my phone number. I don't give anyone my phone number. I don't even have my phone number on my card. I don't want people calling me. And I have an 818 number, so I know if someone calls me from 609 or 856, I know it's an actual call, not a telemarketer. You can email me at the Coop Tank at yahoo.com. Also, if you have social anxiety, or if you're afraid to go into a room, or you hate speaking in public, hit me up. Email me at the Coop Tank at yahoo.com. I'm going to be starting a boot camp at the Soundplex over there in Merchantville. Soundplex Studio is a beautiful place. Brian just had an event there. It's going to be a 4-week course. And what you're going to do is you're going to overcome your fear of speaking by doing stand-up comedy. I'll work with you. We'll create an act on the last night. The last night, you will sit there and have your friends, and you'll be up with all your classmates, and you'll do your 5 minutes. It can be comedy, it can be storytelling, but it will conquer that fear. Because once you get on stage in a situation where you want to make people laugh, you'll be able to speak anywhere. So hit me up there. Also, don't forget about SuiteRecording. You can email them at hello@suite, SUITE recording.com. Joe Gangemi is the best producer in town. That's why I come to the studio. He's awesome. So check them out. So go to YouTube also. Find the Coop Tank. Rate it, subscribe, say good things. And finally, you can find over 1,020 celebrity interviews on my other website, coopertalk.net. Oh, and one more. My new show just premiered on Comedy Trainwreck out of Philly. It's Coop's Comedy Corner. My first guest was Jimmy Schubert, great Philly comic. My next episode will be my friend Steve Skrovan, who won 2 Emmys for Everyone Loves Raymond and wrote for Seinfeld. So anyway, thank you all for watching. Thank you for listening. I'm Steve Cooper, and I will talk to you next week.